my friend, it's Pat Sloan here. Every month I'm showing you a project from my tabletopper book. Just because it's so much fun. Several of you, I know a lot of you have my book, but if you don't have it yet, you're going to want it. So I'm going to show you this one today, which is Tea Time, because it just feels like it's February. It's almost February. I know, it's still January, almost February. And we should just have something that feels a little bit soft and pretty. So here's Tea Time. I believe this fabric line was from Three Sisters at Moda. And most times I show this, I have so many people who write and love the colors of this one. They are small stars. Small stars on point. They're just so precious. My friend Cindy quilted this one. You can see she did custom quilting on those aqua triangles you can see, and then inside each star. It is so beautifully done, and the backing was from the fabric line. So it's got that dense floral on the backing. So there you go. If you have made this one, show it today. If you've made something else from my tabletopper book, I would love to see it. Or any other springy, like, Valentine-y. Let's do Valentine-y, pink type tabletoppers, table runners. We'll just have a little show and tell of those over at Quilt Along with Pat Sloan. The other thing is my Teach Me to Quilt book. I did a video for C&T Publishing, who picked up this book when Martingale went out of business. They picked up both of these two books, which are still in print with them. And so I did a video for them a while back, and they have now loaded it to their YouTube channel. So if you'd like to go learn a little bit about my Teach Me to Quilt book, I have a link in the description box below and at my article today. So for some of you might be confused with the publishing part. I just thought I'd just give you a little brief what I have. I have had 3 book publishers, really 4, but one was just a one-time kind of thing, so I'm not going to count that. And I have contributed to other books which are done by other publishers, but they're not under my name. So I have 3 publishers that I have used. 2 of them are still active. Leisure Arts, which was my first publisher, so I have a series of books there that a few of them are still in print. Some of them are in digital only, and then others are totally out of print, which is what happens. My second publisher was Martingale, and I did 10 books with Martingale. They went out of business a year ago. They closed their business, and so 2 of those books, these 2, were picked up by C&T. The other 8 books are gone. So they're totally gone. And that's why some of you, when you want to go find the Triangle book, you can't get a copy, you can't find a copy, because people have kind of bought up all the used copies because it's been out of print. It went out of print with Martingale. It was only digital. Now, see, there's no digitals anymore either. So except for these 2, because now they're with C&T. But that's what you'll find if I reference like Holiday Hoopla or any of the seasonal books or the Splendid Sampler that I did with Martingale. Those books are no longer in print, and there are no digital copies. It is gone. And that's just the way of the world. Even with Leisure Arts, my earlier books, some of them, there's no digital and they're out of print. So you're just going to find them at resellers, which also then brings, so I have contracts with Leisure Arts and I have contracts with C&T for my books. And I had contracts with Martingale. They're all individual contracts. Each book has an individual contract. Everything works individually per book. So if you ask me questions about how that works, I'm just not going to answer it, because it's just, those are my contracts. They're not really public information. So in case and I know recently several of you have asked, and I just don't answer you, and that's why. My contracts are not public information. So that's how it works. So I do have a lot of active books. They're just spread across different places. And then I have a whole group of out of print books, totally out of print. But I still am the author, and I still own rights to them, even though you can't purchase them anymore. Okay, so that's kind of like a little bit of backstory and information, because some of you were asking things that are just not public information. So there you go. There you go. What else do we have today? It is celebration-wise. It is Australia Day. which as you're watching this, it was really mostly yesterday because I think it's ended now. So I probably should have had it yesterday. I don't know. Am I wrong? Or is it going to come up tonight when you all wake up in Australia? Oh my goodness. I should have researched that better. But anyway, we'll celebrate with you, whether we're just finishing or just starting later today, the celebration. Okay, and it is a quilt shop weekend. I know that's again like later in March, I think, or something. But anyway, let's celebrate our favorite shops. Go shop. Go shop somewhere today. Use my links if you can at the shopping page. That helps my small family business. Oh, alrighty. The February calendar is out. Here we go. It is 2 pages. The first is the calendar, which I just put some cute little icons for different holidays. And then the bottom of it is a list by day of projects and celebrations. And I often mention the celebrations or the items on there, but sometimes they just don't fit in. So you just enjoy them there. And then the second page is a list of a little, slightly more detail on the projects, each individual project, whether it's a free project or whether you can pay for it. If you're looking at this online, there are clickable links to the project pages or the books or patterns. And then there's some upcoming things. A lot of the, most or all of the upcoming, soonish upcoming, have project pages now. Not March. I don't have the March things. And speaking of March, I showed you this quilt as a possible March block a day, and we talked about that in the video the other day, and I told you that if you own my triangle book, it is in that book. And like I said, that book has been out of print for quite a long time, and so there are really no copies of it available. I will be using that one. I decided to use that one. I will be making a free pattern for that quilt, available for the March block a day. But if you have the book, you have the pattern already. And the pattern that I will write will be in my normal single free pattern format, not look like a book pattern at all. So there you go. So that will be coming up, and I will do a project page sometime early February for that, not in the next week or so, because I have other things going on that I need to do. So, but you can download the calendar today, both at the article for today and at I Love to Make Quilts on the calendar page. So always remember, go to I Love to Make Quilts. That is my project website, which has a project page for everything. All right, so I was doing this. I'm working on, let me just show you this. I was working on this cross stitch. Oi, oi, oi. Sometimes, you just can't believe yourself. At least I can't. I'm like, really, really? So I was on a phone call that was a long phone call. And so I thought, well, I will work on this. I will do this little bush over here. I thought I can do that while I'm on this phone call. I was on speaker, etc. So afterwards, I thought, well, I'm just going to finish it up. Well, it turns out I was stitching it on the outside. I'm stitching it out here in the border, instead of here by the house. So unstitching is in progress. I could just rip it because I have tons of this green and I don't need any more green. I have a whole skein. Of it, but I'm going to unpick it just because, sometimes that's the way you feel like doing. So anyway, pay attention, Pat, pay attention. It happens sometimes, doesn't it? You just, I thought I was in the right spot. It's like, oh, I'm gonna pick it out. But that doesn't take that long. So anyway, I'm getting better at picking out the cross stitch. Just, okay. Let's talk about the Breakfast Club. The Breakfast Club. We are on block 4, which is so exciting. And it is what's on your toast. So we have a great big piece of toast for our block this week. Nice and easy and fun. Let me show you the some of the ambassador blocks. I love the background fabric that Kendall is using here. That geometric is just so neat behind his super cute Mr. Toast. Here is Melissa's. Look at her goofy eyes. Oh my goodness, so darling. And she's got that great fabric for the background. I am so jealous. I'm going to steal her blocks. Don't tell her. Don't tell her. Suzanne's got blueberry jam. Do you see that? The blueberry fabric. How cute is that? Okay, just, there you go. There you go. Cute as can be. And Laura gets the assignment. She knows the assignment. She has gone over the top, and look at her. Life happens. Coffee helps. Exactly. And her little red and white check. Oh, everything's perfect. Perfect. So there's some inspiration for you from our ambassadors. That should get your creative juices going. You can go, these are fairly, very, very simple. So you can take that another couple of levels if you want, all the way, like Melissa's doing some really amazing background, all the way up to Laura adding lots of other things onto her plates each time. Laura gets the assignment. Laura gets the assignment. Plus, A++. But yeah, they're so fun. And I think Kendall might tell you a little story about his. I'm telling on you, Kendall, I'm telling, but I'm not telling your story. So he has a little funny story on his. I am going to do this, and we have a lesson for today, and I am going to talk about starting and stopping and stitching. I'm going to stitch on the machine. I have all of this information that I have done many, many times. I have done it in videos, and I have done it in the book, but we're going to do it again. But if you can't wait, you should go and review all of that. So if you have my book, this one, there's actually, I have 2 applique books, and this one you can still get at a really reasonable price. Somebody still has them out there, and I've got all these kind of tips in here. But I also have the applique page at my website with loads of detail and video links in it. So be sure that you're looking at that. Link is in the description box under this video and at my article today, and at I Love to Make Quilts on the tutorial page. And you promised me you would go check the tutorial page. I remember you all promised, because I said if I rearranged that and made it simpler and made you go over there to look for them, would you promise? And you said you would. You said you would. Okay, I'm holding you to it. First, let me show you this. Did I show you this yet for this Quilt Along? Anyway, this is my Heat and Bond box. These are great boxes. You get 75 yards because you won't need to buy any more for a while, even if you're making a lot of applique quilts. This box comes out of here like a butcher paper, like an old-fashioned butcher paper box, or saran wrap or something like that. So you just can pull it out like that and cut off what you need. And I was in the need to get some more, so I thought, well, I bring this down, because generally what I do is I pull off maybe a couple of yards of this and then leave it down here in the studio. And this actually has to live upstairs in my closet. I have one closet in my room upstairs, our bedroom upstairs, or the extra bedroom, that has quilt stuff and Christmas stuff. We don't have a basement. There's no basement. We're on a slab, and no usable attic, so we have to have a closet in the house dedicated to storing Christmas decorations and holiday decorations and wrapping paper, and all of that has to go in a closet. I don't have a basement. So that's where this normally lives. There's a big roll. That big roll of batting I showed you recently, that lives in there. Okay, so I need to pick some fabric. So I am purposely being very simple in the fabrics that I'm using, and using my Promise Me background in white, just because I know a lot of people, here, let me look at you here. Let me look at you. So a lot a lot of you that are joining in here, this is kind of your first applique project. And so I want to keep my examples really simple and concise so that you can see more easily what I'm doing and learn. Then you can go look at what like my ambassadors are doing and other quilt makers are doing, who are sort of taking it up several levels, embellishing it more, adding more interesting fabrics, and you can get an example of that. So let's look at fabrics I can use for this. I have the Fruit Loop, which I have yet to use out here, but I'm going to use it for the sashing for sure. But here's a yellow that I'm going to use for the crust of the toast. Okay, let me just move these other blocks out of the way. So I've got the crust of the toast, and it will be, so you can audition, you can just stick a square. It's about the right size there. So it's a big piece of toast. So there's the crust. I'm going to go with the yellow crust. Now I have a few fabrics I want to show you. So kind of taking a cue from Suzanne, who did blueberry jam. Here's, like, I could have strawberry jam on there because this has got strawberries on it. Let me just pull in. I've got strawberry jam, and I probably have some other kind of options around there, but I just pulled a few. Now I have another strawberry. This one, that doesn't look so good on this toast. It's kind of that light background, so I need something with dark background, not with that cream colored background. It's not that impressive. I have one that is the realistic strawberries, and what's kind of nice about this one is that it's very dense, and so there's just those little pops of green, and I like that option a lot. Then if I'm not going to actually show strawberries on it, I thought, because I really love raspberry jam. Oh my goodness, raspberry jam is my fave. That and peanut butter. Okay, who eats peanut butter? Peanut butter on toast. Raise your hand. Tell me in the comments. Peanut butter on toast and a bagel. Oh my gosh, the best. But I really wanted something more colorful than peanut butter. So we're gonna go with raspberry jam. But see, there's the plaid, and I like the plaid a lot. I think it's really fun, and the eyeballs and stuff will have to be with the gold. So the gold face on it. But I think I'm gonna go, it's a toss up. The strawberries like this, or the raspberry jam. I think I'm going to go with the raspberry jam because I just really like that plaid. All right, so let me just get this set up and go to meet you at the machine and then talk about the stitching. Let's start with the foot that you want. You want an open toe applique foot. This is what it looks like. It is a U. It is totally open in the middle. If it's not open in the middle, get the right foot. If there's any kind of bar in here, it will obstruct your vision 100% of the time and make it incredibly difficult to do this. It's not worth it. Buy the right foot. I also recommend for fusible applique, you use Schmetz non-stick needles. You can get them in 70 or 80 size. If you can't find those, I'm going to give you a link, so that's not a problem. But you can also try your Microtex. 70 or 80 is the size needles. But I really like the Schmetz non-stick. I like all Schmetz needles anyways. That's all I use. Solaris Vision Baby Lock. This is where your setting is. Okay, let's go back to ground zero. Okay, straight stitch is on the one level on my Solaris. If you have a Baby Lock machine, it's going to be very similar. My blanket stitch is 2-04. I happen to have 2.5 by 2.5 as my default, which works for me. Now, your default may be different. I find that for most machines, and I've taught thousands and thousands of people and seen thousands and thousands of machines, usually it works best if both those numbers are the same. You're getting the same width, which is the bite, as the length. They are the same size. That makes the prettiest stitch. The same width, the same length. but you have to look at yours. And I'm talking about single blanket stitch only today. If you have any of those other variations that I showed you the other week, you need to do a lot of tests to figure out what is going to work for you. If they are not the same, make them the same number and try it. Anywhere between 2 and 3 is what I find most machines look good at, but you need to stitch it out to see. You have to stitch it out and see what it looks like. Do a sample. I know you don't want to do a sample, but you got to do a sample. Okay, so I'm going to stick the foot on here. Hold on, I'm doing this with one hand. I am going to stitch with one hand in order to show you what's going on. Remember to go see my other videos on this. Start on the straightaway. So we're on the toast, we're on the straightaway. Do not start at a corner. Don't ever start at a corner. If you have a circle, you have no other option. But if you have any kind of other option, start on the straightaway. I use a locking stitch. Whoops, I use a locking stitch. I'm going to push that, and it is going to just do a couple of stitches in place. Oops, there we go, I gotta hold it, there we go. Do a couple of stitches in place, and that's how I lock it. If you're doing competition quilts, you will pull the threads to the back and tie them. You won't make those little locking stitches. Okay, so now we're just gonna stitch, and we're stitching right along the edge like I showed you to do on my computer, and there you go. So we are just stitching right along that edge. We don't want a space between the shape at all. You get used to it. You practice, you get used to it. I don't really need to pivot until I get down here because the toast is an easy block to do. So as I get down to the corner, I'm going to pivot, and I need to get close enough to the corner. So let's see here. I'm going to pivot just a little bit and angle. You never want to turn with the needle in the applique. You always turn with the needle in the background, because otherwise you make V stitches, and they're not the prettiest. Okay, so pivot one more. I'm just doing one stitch at a time with my foot. You could also do one stitch at a time by doing needle up, needle down, if your machine does it, like my machine does, because I would never have a machine that doesn't. So up, I take stitch up and stitch down. It is actually sewing one stitch at a time. Some of you, when you hit that needle up, needle down, all it does is take the needle up and doesn't run the feed dogs. The feed dogs don't advance the fabric any, so get a new machine. That's the answer to that. Okay, then when I'm done, I would just do the locking stitch again. And let me get the light on there. I would just hit the locking stitch again, do a couple of stitches in place, and then trim the threads off. You could pull the threads to the back if you wanted. You could pull those threads to the back and tie a knot. So let me just finish this and then we'll wrap up. So how do you close this? You can see that I am going to do another stitch, and it's actually this time it's like landing like a fraction away from where I started, which is pretty darn amazing. It doesn't usually do that. Usually there'll be a little bit of a gap. So if there is, what you can do, what's the next stitch? I just did a bite, didn't I? My next stitch is a straight stitch. And there I went past my starting point, and now what I can do is the locking stitch right there. And that is how I would close the end. And it's totally fine if you do another bite on top of that other stitch. It's not going to hurt anything or close to it. But that gap is slightly larger between those two there. Just slightly larger. You can see it there on the close-up. But that's fine. Here is the toast. The cute little toast with his wee little face. Now you could cut the background of that behind the red. You could just nicely cut so the yellow, you could take the yellow bread piece off of there if you needed to maybe use more of that yellow somewhere else. You didn't have a lot of it. I am not bothering because this is going to be machine quilted and I can go through that extra layer of fabric with no problem. What I want you to do also is leave me comments now about applique, the question, because you've done a few blocks, and after you do this one, the kind of questions that you have that I haven't answered yet. Be sure you go look at the prior videos if you're just coming into this, because I've done 3 other videos with tips about the applique, all in the playlist for the Breakfast Club. But next week what I'll do is a little bit more in depth on pivoting and how to control that and what to look for. And I will do some of that on the computer because I can control it a little bit better and give an example a little bit better. So that'll be an additional for next week. Because each week I'm trying to give you some sort of steps because it's just a lot. It's too much to do all at once. And the more you stitch, then you come up with questions. Then you run into things and you're like, okay, well, what do I do here? How do I handle that? And so I'm hoping now you have a few of those questions. Leave them here at YouTube, in the comments at YouTube, and ask it as a question because I'll be able to search it that way. And okay, so that's it. You're gonna make some, and tell me what's on your toast. And if you like peanut butter, like me. And raspberry jam. Okay, my friend, I love you. Mwah. Thank you for being here in the Sloan Zone. I will see you online.